Hello everyone. I wanted to share a video with you guys of the decks that I use around Halloween as well as the darker months of the year. It's going to be kind of a flip through slash chit chat about the different decks I have, and I wanted to show you here my setup. I have a beautiful black tourmaline and this dark Moraine quartz that I got a few years ago. I love this piece so much. And then I have a Samhain candle from my friend Karen Mia Fortuna on Instagram. Unfortunately, I don't have a sense of smell, so I can't tell you how delicious it smells, but I know that it smells wonderful from what I've heard. All right. So I'm going to start off with the Deviant Moon Tarot, and this is a deck that I purchased pre-owned from someone on Instagram, and I was just curious about the deck. The imagery on the deck is kind of odd. It's one of those decks that I use just for personal use. I wouldn't read for someone with it unless they specifically asked. Or if I was doing like a spooky reading, then maybe I would use this one. So the Deviant Moon Tarot is by Patrick Valenza, and he has a lot of different cards, a lot of different decks actually. This is the only one I own of his, but I'm always curious and intrigued by his cards. They often have this different kind of world, like a being. These beings that they look a little like, it's hard to describe them, but some of them have like a bug kind of look to them. And I'm sorry, there is nudity in this deck. Apologize for not mentioning that beforehand. But so one thing I like about this deck is that, one, it's kind of shocking, and the imagery is shocking, so it already puts you in a different state of mind than one of the like more traditional decks or decks with people. But also I have found that the messages that it gives you, they're kind of blunt sometimes, in a way of like telling you, like saying the obvious but in a very blunt way. I also really like that it's great for storytelling. So if you were to like place cards down together, they're all inside the frame, you could tell a story by looking at how the different characters are looking at each other, what they're doing. So it has that storytelling narrative kind of ability, I guess. I guess all tarot decks could have that, but there are some for me that are more storytelling decks. Like this one would be one of them. The Kitty Kahane Tarot is another one that I actually use for my storytelling readings. So that was the Deviant Moon. And up next I have the Nightmare Before Christmas Tarot deck. This one is a recent purchase. My husband got it for me, and I had been eyeing it for a while since it came out. I think it came out last year. I love The Nightmare Before Christmas. It's my favorite Halloween and Christmas movie, and I will collect different things from the movie, like cups, socks. I have some knitted dolls that my sister-in-law made, which I should have brought to show you. Anyway, this is the card backing for them. I really like it. It's very traditional. And then I'll flip through some of the cards. It comes with a pretty nice guidebook. It's illustrated by Abigail Larson, who is also the illustrator of the Darkwood Tarot, which is another deck that I don't have but is on my list. So some of these cards, they make sense in my mind with the card that they were assigned. Some other ones are a little like, I don't know if I get that one. But so this is more of a collector's item. If you like the Nightmare Before Christmas and you like tarot, there's no reason why you wouldn't want to have the Nightmare Before Christmas tarot deck. But in terms of it being a super great tarot deck, I would not say that it's amazing. I do like that it has a lot of different images, although in the movie I feel like there's only a handful of main characters, and some of the characters that are here, like I don't remember them from the movie. So like this lady, I don't know, I just don't remember her. Remember him. I feel like I've seen him. So in a sense, I also think that like the minor arcana, they're kind of like, it's kind of like a pip deck, because it has the 5 candles for the 5 wands, but the people here, I guess it does make sense here that they're fighting, but for example the 6 of candles doesn't really make sense to what this card usually means. So in that sense it's kind of a pip deck, but it's a nice theme deck that you could use around Halloween season. So those are a few of the cards, and I am definitely glad to have it in my collection because, like I mentioned, I love the Nightmare Before Christmas and I tend to collect different things from the movie. And up next is the Halloween Oracle. And I've had this deck for a few years. Oops, sorry. Let's see, make sure we're in the frame here. I've had this deck for a few years. It's a, I want to say it's a staple deck for Halloween season, but there's a lot more now. So this is the one I have, and I think it's more like a fun deck, like similar to the Nightmare Before Christmas, a deck that you would want to bring out during Halloween. I usually do mini readings for people on my Facebook page using this deck. This year I'll bring it to a Halloween party that we will be having with family. One thing I don't like about this deck is that there's a few cards that have this, they have a really similar look. I'll leave them out here, which feels to me like they couldn't find other images to use. Maybe it's the skull cards. I really like this one. Another deck that is a Halloween themed deck is the Season of the Witch Samhain edition. That's one deck that I hope to have sometime. Oh, for some reason, oh, here we go. These are the other skull cards, and I just think that they're just too similar for my liking. So in a way, it feels like they couldn't find other images to use. That's my only complaint about the Halloween Oracle. And up next on the Halloweeny decks is the Vampire Tarot by Ian Daniels. I got it from someone as a pre-owned deck, so I just put it in a black box. I also have a digital app for this deck, and I really hope to be able to find the book, because I've heard great things from people about the book, mostly from Owlmoon513 here on YouTube. She loves this deck and I love her videos, so I'm on the lookout for the Phantasmagoria book. I'm short of purchasing a whole other deck pack so I can have the book. So if you like vampires or gothic imagery, this would be a great deck. It is kind of shocking. It's bloody and there's a little bit of violence going on. So in that sense, it's also one of those decks that maybe I wouldn't use for reading for other people, but I would use for myself. When I use the deck, I usually go back to the digital app and I'll read the description of the cards, because there's a lot of symbolism and a lot of depth into the cards that the author describes. So when you look at them, see, like this one's a little shocking, huh? This one's pretty shocking. When you look at them, I think you really have to sit with the cards and connect with them to get the message. For example, if you were to do a reading for yourself and you just, some decks, they speak to you really fast. I would say that this is not one of those decks. That this one takes a little bit of time for you to sit with and really look at the different images and what's calling out to you. And also I think it's a deck that really asks you to tune into how you're feeling as you're looking at these images. So that's the Vampire's Tarot by Ian Daniels. And this one I purchased recently from Craft and Card Store, I think it's their name on Etsy. They basically sell Rider-Waite decks with different color palettes. So I purchased the purple one that's called the Cosmic Rider-Waite, and then I purchased this one that's a red and black color palette. So it's basically the Rider-Waite Smith, but just with different colors. And I liked the look of this deck and I wanted to use it for Halloween readings. And I also think that when you use a different color palette on this deck, that the feeling and the energy and the vibe of the readings do differ. So this one might put you into a more of a shadow work, more of a somber kind of mood than the purple and blue and pink one that I have, which I don't have with me, so I can't show, but maybe I'll do another video. One thing I don't like about this cardstock, or card type I guess, is that it's very glossy. I don't know if you can see. Thankfully I don't have any lights right above, but it's pretty glossy, so for pictures it makes it kind of difficult to get a good photo of it. But I do like, they shuffle really well, and the cardstock is pretty thick compared to other Rider-Waite Smith decks. So that's the red and black Rider-Waite. And then the last deck I'm going to show you is the Quareia Magician's deck. As I was mentioning, the last deck is the Quareia deck, and my camera turned off unexpectedly, so if I mentioned this already, I apologize. When I started working with this deck, I was also reading the Quareia course, and that's a pretty hefty magical course that's available for free online by Josephine McCarthy. And because it's so hefty, I didn't make it very far at first, but my goal is to try to go back to it. And I started using the deck a little bit, but it just felt like such a deep deck that I didn't want to dive into it without having the background of the course. At least that was my reasoning a few years ago. So I put it away, and I would pull it out maybe once a year just to draw a card. And this is not a deck that you can just like do a daily card from. When you pull a card, at least for me, when I pull a card from this deck, it's because I want to spend some time connecting with whoever shows up. And actually, I don't know if he will come out here, but there's this card that I spent a few months connecting with. It was the Guardian of the Threshold, and I've connected a lot with that being, to the point that when I pulled this deck out a few weeks ago to use it again, and I was flipping through it and I saw the Guardian of Thresholds, I felt like I was seeing an old friend. I know that might sound strange for people who don't use cards, but that's how I felt, and I just felt this connection to that being who I worked with for a few weeks or even months. And it was a few years ago actually when I connected with him. Here we go, here he is. So the book describes this deck as a contacted deck. It has different realms. It has the divine realm, the inner realm, the outer realm, and another realm that I can't remember, but it comes with this smallish book. And there's another book that's a little bigger. So there's the divine realm, the inner realm, the physical world, and the realm of death and the underworld. And the book gives you information about each of the cards, and I really want to get the expanded edition of the book to learn more about it. I also want to finish or at least pick up the Quareia study again and really work with this deck. There's just so much. I think it would be like a lifetime of getting to know these different beings. And it's not a deck that you should only use during the darker months, but this is what I feel like using right now. So I have been pulling a card when I feel called to, and hoping that I also develop a similar relationship to the relationship I developed with the Threshold Guardian. One of the things that Josephine says about this deck is that instead of using names for the different beings, they just use what they do as their name. So that's why the Threshold Guardian is called the Threshold Guardian instead of something else. So there's Bridge to Death, the Path of Hercules. I think the green ones are all the physical realm. The Inner Temple. But it's definitely a deck for magic and magician studies. So those are all the decks that I have in my collection that have that spooky / winter months vibe. Let me know in the comments which ones are your favorite from my collection or from your collection. And if you have not subscribed, I hope that you find my videos interesting and that you will subscribe. Thank you so much.